Robert Kiyosaki is one of the most well-known personal investment finance authors of all time, has the best-selling finance book of all time, and still over the last 25 years, Rich Dad Poor Dad being obviously one of the most well-known, time-tested principles. My favorite principles, number one, is rich don't work for money, and number three, mind your own business. And he has gotten, honestly, a bad rap, I think, over the last few years. And just a couple points of why, and I think this is very important. And one of them is the whole boomer thing, okay boomer, which I quite frankly can't stand that meme. People saying that and just dismissive, don't know how to argue, don't know how to debate. Quite honestly, the younger generation doing that. It doesn't mean that the boomers don't have faults. They do. We all do. And the younger generation doesn't know how to do any type of communicating, really. And I'm generalizing, but they don't know how to do really any communicating. Gen Z, one of the deans, I just heard someone at a college saying that their big thing when the kids come into the welcome week doing orientation, their big thing is to get them just face to face with other kids because they don't know how to talk to other people face to face. And think about that. Think about where we've come as a society. Technology is great and all, but we can't lose our own basis for being human, and we've lost that. And people like Robert Kiyosaki, yeah, he's in his 70s. Obviously, he's from a different generation. Again, the boomer generation, and he's been to war, which most people haven't. Many times, been shot at, taking people out. It's a different world. You grow up, and that's a more primal, animalistic world that humans grew up in for thousands of years. And really, only the last 50 years have humans had things so good here in the West, especially in America, that they're so disconnected from reality, so disconnected from really evolution, disconnected from just normal life, what most human beings have always gone through or gone through now. So you have things like these principles. Robert Kiyosaki, the reason he's lasted so long is like the Bible. I had a priest the other day, one of my good priest friends, tell me that the Bible at the end of the day, you can really boil it down to a book of principles and wrapped in stories that have stood the test of time, and that's why they stand the test of time, because they are based in first principles. They're based in natural law. They're based in truth, self-evident truth, as our founding fathers coined. Time frame. Time frame is one of those things, right? Robert Kiyosaki's time frame is much longer than the average person. Most people don't have a time frame more than a goldfish, as we well know. 7 seconds, 4 seconds, whatever it is. He's a long-term thinker. He's thinking years, decades from now, and he's got a lot of every video he has now, people are like, oh, he said it's going to crash the economy 13 million times over the last 3 years, and he's a Chicken Little. Everything he says is directionally correct, though. All the things he says are irrefutable. Now, maybe he's a good marketer, a good business person, so does he get into the scare tactics and the fear-mongering sometimes? Yeah, he could be blamed for that and accused of that for sure, and that's to be debated. However, it's a way to arouse people and get people excited about what's going on and to shift their context. That's the thing. He gets into the world of what is happening and why things are happening, but he doesn't tell you how to fix them. He doesn't tell you how to do it necessarily. That's not his job. And that's the reason he has stood the test of time, because he doesn't try to get into the how-to and become the actual teacher of the hands-on doing things day in and day out. He's a broad-based context shifter. And quite honestly, maybe I empathize with him because that's kind of how I am in a way. I love teaching. I love coaching. I love coaching hockey. I love teaching hockey. I love educating people. I love whiteboarding things out. I love showing people on the ice how to do things. At the same time, though, I like broad-based thinking. I like shifting context, probably more than anything. I like helping people. I ponder things a lot. And I look at things from a very macro, hundreds of thousands of foot view, not a 30,000 foot view, but a hundreds of thousand foot view. And 10 to 20 years is my minimum, the way I'm looking at things. And so I tend to get things wrong time frame, but everyone does. And that's where he tends to get things wrong, because he tries to predict things. He tries to say time frames, which that's, of course, going to out him, and that's going to make him look bad at times. However, as Nolan Bowerly says, predictions are very, very important because they do help your mental models. They do help you figure out, do I have the right mental models? Am I thinking the right thing at that time? And all the things he says are true. Like, again, the rich don't work for money. Your assets pay for your liabilities. And things like the dollar ceased to being money in 1971. And it did. Money is a store of value. And now we have a currency. We have a fiat currency. It only has any type of value because the government coerces you at the end of a gun or imprisonment to pay your taxes in it. The federal government itself admits, the Federal Reserve admits that taxes for revenue are obsolete. We've showed the articles, we've showed the things literally in their words saying they're obsolete. We just do it to coerce people and redistribute wealth and make people do what we want them to do. And humans accept it. Adult human beings accept that as an answer and then go right along with their life, get back on their hamster wheel and start working for the man again. Most want hot tips, right? Kiyosaki doesn't give hot tips. That's again why people don't like him. He wants you to put the work in. He shifts your context so that way you are then excited and want to go do the work yourself and put the work in. Bob Proctor often said that I can't give you what I have because you have too much of what you have. And that's exactly who Robert Kiyosaki is. Robert Kiyosaki is someone who is 50 years of learning, 60 years of learning since he was 9 years old, right? His story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I listened to thousands of hours of his content over the last 15 years. And I have read all of his books many times. And again, like I already mentioned, he is my biggest and first financial mentor 15 years ago when I was seeing the great financial crisis happen in 2008, 2009, seeing the uniparty right in front of my eyes be unveiled. It's not red versus blue, it's a state versus you. It's collectivism versus individualism. That's the game we are playing. Politics is just a distraction. It's a ruse to obfuscate truth and to get divert people's eyes so they don't really see the games being played. The money games, really at the end of the day, it's a money game being played. The government counterfeiting currency, taking the power to counterfeit that currency, put it into existence, and then tell the people that, yeah, you need to pay taxes on that. We can counterfeit whatever we want. We can steal your wealth through we can steal your time and energy through inflation by printing more of this. We get the new currency. You have to deal with the inflated dollars. And again, people just get right back on their hamster wheel and don't ask questions and don't care. So, time frame. He's a long-term thinker. He has low time preference. He's patient and doesn't need cash right now, which makes you a longer-term thinker. And he thinks long-term. He does what he needs to do. He gets creative. He can use other people's money. Again, these are all things that advanced investors do. But most people aren't advanced investors. They can't. They don't have time. I shouldn't say they can't. They could. All people could do it. But it takes time and experience and takes effort and work. And most people, the way they find themselves in life, aren't at a point where they can do that. So we're stuck in this system on a hamster wheel in an inflationary world. And that's why, this is where I differ with Robert Kiyosaki, is that you have to fix the money. You're not going to be able to help everyone in the world. He talks about Bucky Fuller all the time. And I agree, Bucky Fuller was the friendly genius, a great mentor to have that he had. And he talks about one of his books, Grunch of Giants, Gross Universal Cash Heist, talking about this decades ago, this problem, central banking and what was happening. The problem is most people aren't going to get into real estate. They're not going to be able to hedge their assets. They're not going to be able to buy real estate and gold, silver, and Bitcoin, stocks, bonds, all these different things. They're not, oil wells, cattle ranches. They can't do that. They're not going to do that. So how do we help the most amount of people, as Bucky Fuller says, ephemeralization? How do we help the most people with the least amount of work? How do we provide the best product possible for the least amount? That's ephemeralization. And the way that we can do that now is fixing the money, giving the people the hardest money privately issued by the people, running nodes by the people, operating system by the people, outside the hands of anyone. It's rules, not rulers. No one. Michael Saylor, the people who own the most, or Satoshi's wallet, a government, doesn't matter who has the most Bitcoin. No one has more say in the system. As long as you have a node running in the system and you own Bitcoin, you have a say in that system. You get to contribute to that system equally. That's the beauty of Bitcoin. And no one can print more, no one can mine more than 21 million. So no one has the ability to take your wealth away, tell you who you can or cannot transact with. And they can't spend endlessly on wars to nowhere, bridges to nowhere, programs to nowhere, launder money. They can't do all. The government can't, the elites, unproductive class can't do that with Bitcoin anymore. And it teaches people, it starts to train people. You don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you. And you start to see this shift in thinking where when people are trying to play games with Bitcoin, they get wrecked. And so it starts training people, the FTXs of the world. I can't do that. Government, I can't do that anymore. The BlackRocks, the Jamie Dimons, JP Morgan Chase, when they start playing games with Bitcoin, they get wrecked. It starts training all the other players in the game on the network. I can't do that either. And it starts to change people. So don't listen to people where you don't want them to be. Again, Kiyosaki is someone where, let's be honest, everyone wants to be. They want to be extremely wealthy with millions in cash flow coming in every single month, not having to work, going to conferences, doing whatever you want to do when you want to do it, having the freedom. Time always tells, but be careful who you watch. Be careful who you surround yourself with. Don't listen to the noise out there. And we don't even know how many people are bots out there either.
But be careful with who you are following with, and understand the nuance to things. Not everything is black and white as you think it is either. There are explanations for some of these things too, and there are nuance to many of these people and how they think. And I, for one, because I've studied him so much and have ingrained myself with him and his thinking and how he speaks, how he talks, I can see through the nuance very easily. But it takes time. It takes effort. 15 years I've been studying him. And that's very important. The important lesson in all that is that constant study, the 10,000 hours rule of studying. And I will say, there's a saying in Bitcoin, slay your heroes. And, Kiyosaki is not someone who totally gets Bitcoin yet. And again, he's getting there, and he understands it more and more now. But he's not someone, he's still living in the old system a little bit. He still thinks, in a way, the old system can be fixed, and it can't. We don't know what's going to happen to the legacy system. We don't know what's going to happen to stocks and bonds and insurance companies and real estate and property tax. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with Bitcoin either. But I have a better feeling about Bitcoin that is rules and not rulers than I do about all these other assets. Hence why I continue to put more of my time and energy, my wealth, into Bitcoin and allocate more time. This is why we have the things we do. We work on creating videos to educate people. This is why we work on Bitcoin trading cards and cards to incept the truth, Trojan horse people into their mind, the truth that is not taught in school. It's not taught between family members. Educating kids, old alike, doesn't matter. People are getting excited about the collectability of the cards, the education on the cards, the art on the cards, and what it's doing for a whole new generation of people that are just learning these concepts for the first time. So I appreciate you watching this. I think it's really important to understand the nuance and to study people that are where you want to be. We are the average of the 5 people that we hang around with most. Your network is your net worth. Who are your mentors? Mentors is the biggest thing, and that's the thing that's radically changed my life. I still use some of his balance sheets. Like he says, the poor people have report cards, and wealthy people have balance sheets. They have financial statements. Understanding that is one of the biggest things that has created wealth for me and my family over the last 15 years. Once I started to see the political games that were going on. So I appreciate you being here. The video is longer than I want it to be, so I appreciate you staying through it. Please share this out, because the algorithm hates truth. Question everything with boldness, even the existence of God himself. Trust but verify what I'm saying. And this is not financial advice, it is freedom advice. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.